Phileas Fogg was seated squarely in his armchair, his hands resting on his knees, his body straight, his head erect. He was waiting to meet with a new candidate for the position of his valet. Passepartout, a young man of 30, enters the room and bows.
Mr. Phileas Fogg, I'm here about the job. You are French, I believe, and your name is John? I am, and Jean, if you please. Jean Passepartout, a surname which has clung to me because I have a natural aptitude for going out of one business into another, rather quickly. If you knew all the jobs I've had, you would laugh. Circus rider, professor of gymnastics, a sergeant in the Paris Fire Brigade, a singer. Passepartout suits me. You come well recommended to me. I hear a good report of you. And you know my conditions? Yes, sir. Good. What time is it?
Passepartout pulls out an enormous silver watch from his pocket.
22 minutes after 11.
Fogg checks his watch.
You're too slow. Sorry, monsieur, that's impossible. You're 4 minutes too slow. No matter. It's enough to mention the error. Now, from this moment, 29 minutes after 11 a.m. this Wednesday, 2nd October, you are in my service. I am now going to my club. I shall return at midnight, precisely at midnight.
Phileas Fogg, having shut the door of his house at 11:30, and having put his right foot before his left 575 times, and his left foot before his right 576 times, reaches the Reform Club. As he approaches, 3 men, Thomas Flanagan, Andrew Stewart, and Gautier Ralph, are discussing something among themselves.
Well, Ralph, what about that robbery? Oh, the bank will lose the money. On the contrary, I hope we may lay our hands on the robber. Skillful detectives have been sent to all the principal ports of America and the continent, and he'll be a clever fellow if he slips through their fingers. But have you got the robber's description? In the first place, he is no robber at all. What? A fellow who makes off with £55,000? No robber? No. The Daily Telegraph says that he is a gentleman. I maintain that the chances are in favor of the thief, who must be a shrewd fellow. Well, but where can he flee to? No country is safe for him. Oh, I don't know that. The world is big enough. It was once. What do you mean by once? Has the world grown smaller? Certainly. I agree with Mr. Fogg. The world has grown smaller, since a man can now go around it 10 times more quickly than 100 years ago. And that is why the search for this thief will be more likely to succeed. You have a strange way, Ralph, of proving that the world has grown smaller. So, because you can go round it in 3 months, in 80 days. Indeed, only 80 days, now that the section between Rothal and Allahabad on the Great Indian Peninsula Railway has been opened. Here is the estimate made by the Daily Telegraph. From London to Suez by rail and steamboat, 7 days. From Suez to Bombay by steamer, 13 days. From Bombay to Calcutta by rail, 3 days. From Calcutta to Hong Kong by steamer, 13 days. From Hong Kong to Yokohama by steamer, 6 days. From Yokohama to San Francisco by steamer, 22 days. From San Francisco to New York by rail, 7 days. From New York to London by steamer and rail, 9 days. Total, 80 days. But that doesn't take into account bad weather, contrary winds, shipwrecks, railway accidents, and so on. All included. You're right, theoretically, Mr. Fogg, but practically? Practically also, Mr. Stewart. I'd like to see you do it in 80 days. It depends on you. Shall we go? Heaven preserve me. But I would wager £4,000 that such a journey made under these conditions is impossible. Quite possible, on the contrary. Well, make it then. The journey round the world in 80 days? Yes. I should like nothing better. When? At once. Only I warn you that I shall do it at your expense.